went to school to learn the insidious arts. When he graduated, it was with insidious farts. Now he conquers heroes by blessing them with his blooper. He's the one and only gas-powered villain, the insidious Dr. Chupa! Alrighty, hey there everybody, this is just a quick response video, frankly, because I am too lazy to try to type a book on Facebook. I was asked about my thoughts on Star Wars The Last Jedi, and to be honest, I'm still kind of trying to figure it out. I definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good movie. But then again, and I know a lot of people had issues with the last, well, with Episode 7, I guess not the last movie. That would have been Rogue One, and I'm not going to talk about that one. You know, a lot of people, the big complaint about The Force Awakens was that it was pretty much a remake of the original Star Wars, and I can definitely see, I mean, it's a valid complaint because the two movies are really similar. That said, I'm not even sure, I mean, at this point, I'm not sure if I liked The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi more at this point. And I can explain why, I guess. The thing is, like, this movie, it hit some of the same points as The Empire Strikes Back. It didn't seem like The Force Awakens, it was in a lot of ways just kind of a remake. Oh, and excuse the mess, but we're, you know, getting ready to move, and so if anybody else is watching this, yeah, there's a mess behind me. I'm dismantling the goat cave, and because we're going to be relocating to Easley, South Carolina, which is an awesome, awesome place, and a lot closer to civilization, things you can do, restaurants that don't suck. Anyway, as I was saying, so okay, The Last Jedi. And spoilers, if you haven't seen the movie, don't watch this video, my god. Okay, first off, it's long. It's really, really long. I mean, 2.5 hours. That's just, it's a lot to sit through. And it's a lot of it is because of the structure of the movie, because it seems like it ends about 3 times. And then all of a sudden, you know, it's just like, oh, there's more. And, you know, it's like, after you're already sitting there, you know, for like an hour and a half and then 2 hours, and you're just sitting there, and it's like your ass hurts, and you're ready for it to be done. And it's like, are they not leaving anything for the next movie? But my main complaint is, it seems like Disney is just flying by the seat of their pants. They're just kind of hiring writers and directors willy-nilly. It doesn't seem like there's anybody who actually has a definite direction for the story to go. Like in the first movie, they teased the whole thing, oh, who's Rey, who's Rey, who's Rey? And we might not definitely know. I mean, Kylo Ren could have been lying about it or whatever. Personally, I have no problem with her not being somebody in the canon of the Star Wars universe. I mean, we need original characters. Not everybody has to be related to, you know, the 3 main characters from the original Star Wars. It's kind of nice to see them just say, okay, she's nobody. Again, he could have lied, and we might find out, you know, in the next movie that she's Han Solo's niece or something. Whatever. Who knows? But that's kind of my problem. Like I said, it doesn't seem like there's any definite direction. It's like with a TV show. You need a showrunner. You need somebody who has a definite direction that they want to go in, and it doesn't seem like they do. Because in the first movie, they, you know, there was, you know, who's, you know, Snoke, who is Rey, who is, you know, it's just who is, and it didn't deliver on any of that. They just said, oh, well, Rey, you're nobody. Snoke, we don't know. So will we find out in the next movie or the next episode? Possibly. I mean, who knows? Or they might do a side movie. I mean, it seems like they're getting into that a little too much. So those are problems. I mean, I had issues with all that. Also, after Carrie Fisher died, their first response was, we're not going to put Leia in the next movie. We're just going to kind of write her out off camera, is what it seemed like they were saying. And all of a sudden, she's one of the main characters. And then they kind of tease her death, but then they don't. And she's in the whole damn movie. They said she hadn't really filmed anything for the movie. So what the hell did they do? I mean, did they just have this much footage laying around of Carrie Fisher playing Princess Leia? I mean, because if that's CGI, it's really damn good. I know a few parts it definitely was, like when she was in space and it looked really stupid. But what are you going to do? You know, I mean, it seems like leaving her alive and then killing off Luke, eh, it's just weird. Um, so anyway, but I mean, you know, they hit some of the same beats that Empire Strikes Back did. I mean, especially the whole running from the Empire, the whole movie, the Jedi training stuff with Rey on the fucking island with Luke, and he's being a dickhead about it, and you know the whole part where she goes into the pit. And it's just like when Luke went into the tree. I half expected Luke to say something like, "Well, you're not going to need a weapon down there," even though he didn't know at the time. You know, he sort of did, but whatever. Um, and then she goes down in there, and it's like she went into a mirror into the DMV. It's just an endless line of rays. What the hell was that supposed to be? It was a wasted scene. It didn't need to be there. I mean, if that's all they were going to do with it, they could have really done something with that, something really cool. And then they didn't. A lot of scenes were like that. Like the entire part where they were looking for a hacker on the gambling planet, it was just poorly paced, and it almost seemed to exist just to give Rose some backstory. And I would have rather had her sum that up in 10 minutes somewhere else than the entire thing they did on the gambling planet. It was just stupid. Which, another thing, I mean, Benicio del Toro, you have him in the movie, and they just wasted him. He was just a character that was kind of there to be a turncoat piece of shit. Um, it was, you know, I would have liked to have seen something out of it, but then again, if they would have had him like come back or something, it would have been too, um, too Han Solo like, I guess. You know, coming back at the end of Star Wars and saving the day, which I mean they kind of did with the Millennium Falcon. There were a lot of issues with everything had to be timed just precisely with this and that and the other, people meeting up here and people going there, and it's like it was a little far-fetched even for a science fiction movie. Let me see, I actually made some notes here, so because I was trying to organize my thoughts. um, Yoda, they bring back the Yoda ghost and it's a damn puppet again, which would have been okay, but it looked almost exactly like the puppet from Empire Strikes Back. And it's like, if that's all you're going to do, just CGI him. I mean, you know, he looked better. So that was just weird. The whole Luke Force doppelganger thing at the end, that was just really, really strange. I don't even, you know, I mean, I guess at least they killed him off with it, but it seemed like kind of a cheap way to go. Um, and Rose in general, I mean, like, you know, I like the idea of Rose. She's, you know, cute and plucky, and at least she's not, you know, like a size 1 character. You know, something like a normal girl could actually, you know, look up to or whatever, because, you know, every character in a movie anymore has to be a role model of some sort. But like Rose was cool, but I didn't need her entire backstory. I didn't need for her to end like at the end of the first movie. We end with Finn being all injured and shit, and this time Rose is all injured and shit, and it's like, come on, just, you know, it was just kind of silly. Laura Dern, I hate anything. I just can't stand her. You know, ever since Jurassic Park, I just, there's something about her face. She always looks like she's ready to be a bitch. And putting Laura Dern, just, it was so jarring. It was like, that's Laura Dern. Ugh. You can't see the character. You just see Laura Dern. And the fact, I mean, again, that, you know, we get to the end of the movie and Leia's still alive. And it's like, okay, so how long are we going to drag this out? I mean, it's kind of cool that they put her daughter in it in a fairly decently sized role, I guess. I mean, she wasn't, you know, one of the main characters, but she was in it a lot. Um, but anyway, I mean, it had a good little few surprises, a good little few moments where it was like, you know, will they, won't they? Like the whole thing with Snoke, the whole Snoke scene with Kylo Ren and Rey. That ended up being pretty cool. Um, I felt like the whole Finn Phasma thing. It was just it was. It's like you expected to see a good fight because Phasma was such. She was so hyped going into the Force Awakens, and then nothing happened. And then they pulled her in here, pretty much just to fight Finn. It seemed like, and then the fight's over like that, and it's like she falls, and that's it. And it's like, okay, so she's gone, and there it felt very anticlimactic. So, obviously I had a lot of issues with it, but I still enjoyed it. I mean, it was still a good, the battle scenes were good. The beginning of the movie was great. The whole, you know, running from the Empire bit, the fact that it was the same ship the entire time and they were just going in a straight line, that got a little old. Um, and the fact that they just happened to, everything just happened to time out so that, oh, hey, we're right next to this planet where there used to be a base. Well, hell, we can just go on down there. The fuck. Um, I like this movie despite all the problems I ended up having with it. Um, the pacing was odd. The structure was odd because normally you got your three acts and blah, 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 whatever. And it seemed more like there were like 9 acts because they just kept doing an ending. We're just going to continue and do an ending and continue and do an ending. It's like save something for the next movie. But also get a direction for the series. I kind of liked that it wasn't a typical structure for your typical movie, but it was so long. It almost felt like it could have been 2 movies by itself. Um, and that could have been alleviated by just cutting out some of the extraneous bullshit, like the entire gambling planet thing. I mean, really, that was it was a stretch to begin with. Oh, you've got this many hours to go and find this hacker on this entire planet. Um, I don't know. It was just silly, but somehow, like I said, despite all the problems I had with it, I still came out enjoying the movie. I had a good time watching it. It was just toward the end, it was just wearing you. It's like going and seeing wrestling. If you're there for like 3 hours, it's a good time. If they're taping and you're sitting there and you're watching for like 5 hours and 6 hours and all that, it starts to wear on you, and you just get to the point where it's just fatigue. You don't care anymore. So by the end of the movie, it was like, just fucking finish it. And didn't help that Luke was still pretty much the same whiny asshole he's always been. I mean, my thing was I grew up on Star Wars. I've loved pretty much everything Star Wars in some form or another, except for Rogue One. Um, but my big turning point was when I was like in my like mid-teens and realized what a whiny son of a bitch Luke was, and he gets everything. And I hate that. I mean, it's just like I got to the point where I really hated the Luke Skywalker character, and he was one of my favorites to begin with. And now, you got Kylo Ren, who's also whiny, and then you got Luke, who's whiny, and it's just like, can we just get some characters that act like real people? And I get that there are whiners out there and everything, but anyway, um, still somehow thought it was a good movie. Had a good time watching it. Really great special effects. It was really pretty. Um, and even though the plot was nonsensical at points, I just it was good, and I felt like it could have been a lot better if it was shorter. And if they would have, saved some of what they did for the next movie. But my God, they've got to find it. Just like the first movie seemed like they were setting up for so much, and then this movie pretty much ignored everything or just went poo poo. It's not important, and um, yeah, it just felt like it was a wasted opportunity. But overall, it was a decent entry. I still really enjoyed it. The good parts were really good. Just the problems. After you come home and you think about it, there are issues. Anyway, that's about it. I know I've rambled on and on and on. But it would have been a book on Facebook, and I just didn't feel like typing that much. So anyway, that's about it. I'll see y'all later. If you have any thoughts, comments, questions, feel free to drop them down below or on my Facebook if you know me on Facebook. And if you don't, well, that's fine. So I'm going to get to moving, and we'll see you later. Bye.